This week, I talked to a senator who was one of the two Democrats on the ballot board last year when the panel got sued over ballot language for both issue ones, the requirement of a 60% voter approval to change the Constitution and the Reproductive Rights Amendment. Senator Bill DeMora was in Chicago this week as the convention and delegate director for the Ohio Democratic Party.
I mean, as somebody who came from, being campaign person and all that, I have always thought that anytime the Republicans can try to screw the people of Ohio or Democrats, they're going to do it. So I have no delusions of grandeur that Frank LaRose was ever going to do anything to actually help the citizens. It's all in for himself and his cronies. So I was on the ballot board because I brought a certain perspective, because I come from a political background of somebody running campaigns, working for the Democratic Party for so many years, that, nothing really surprises me. But I'll tell you what, the ballot language that they passed last week even surprised me, how nefarious and how just so misleading that it was. Again, it was bad. It was horrible at the start. And then Senator Gaverone's amendment to put in the word gerrymandering is just, again, these people, all they think about is keeping power. They don't want to govern for the people of Ohio. They don't want to help people. They're just trying to keep power at all costs, no matter, screw the law, screw anything else. But if we don't keep our power, and I think, like I said, the people of Ohio so far have seen through it. 3 times last year with issue 1 in August and issue 1 and 2 in November, and this year in issue 1, the voters are going to see through all the Republican shenanigans, and they're going to pass this overwhelmingly. And we're going to finally have districts that we are representative of the people. And don't forget, you and I know that we passed 2 constitutional amendments before this that the Republicans on the ballot board, on the redistricting committee, is completely ignored. They ignored the laws of the state of Ohio, and then the four stooges on the Supreme Court uphold this ridiculous, this stuff. And it's a joke. They said these guys. That's why we're gonna take over the Supreme Court this year with our 3 candidates, and we're gonna elect. And after the redistricting amendment passes, we're gonna have a legislature that is gonna look more like the state of Ohio, and they will no longer have super majorities, so they can't keep passing these horrible bills and take away people's rights. So, it's gonna happen. The people are gonna see through this, and Frank LaRose will be a 4-time loser.
Republicans on the ballot board said that the ballot language that was submitted by citizens, not politicians, wasn't enough. This is a complicated amendment, and they said that the 10 bullet points that they came up with was appropriate to explain how complicated it is.
Yeah, these are the same people that that want to take away trans people's rights, that want to make it so that people can't vote without strict ID laws. They purge voters. They want to take away women's right to determine their own body, what says with their body. These guys, they lie through their teeth. Nothing, just like the presidential candidate, they can't say anything that's actually truthful. They lie about everything and try to twist everything around to come out to some warped sense of right that they have. And the voters are going to see through it. And again, whatever they justify is ludicrous. I don't know how they sleep at night. I don't know how their conscience lets them sleep at night when they lie. They follow some con artist who's running for president as a cult. And someday their judgment will come.
Let's talk a little bit about the presidential contest. And I'm talking to you right now because you were in Chicago for the Democratic National Convention, which has been a historic event in terms of all the things that have happened already. We're talking right now the day before Vice President Kamala Harris accepts the nomination formally and gives her speech. What's it been like? I've heard that you've been offered, or some people have been offered, thousands of dollars for the opportunity to come out on the floor and see this.
So this morning, I was in our staff office at 5:05 this morning, and by 5:05 this morning, I had 3 different emails or text messages offering me $10,000 for a pass today. It is unbelievable, the excitement, the people that want to be here to see history and see Kamala be officially Democratic. Although she already is nominee, let's put it that way. We had to do that again. Republicans trying to make it shenanigans to get her on the ballot, but she's our nominee, and the speech tonight is going to be overwhelming. You saw on Tuesday night that there were 2 arenas completely sold out. One in Milwaukee, where she was, and the one in Chicago for the convention. Donald Trump in his best day couldn't fill two arenas at the same time in two different cities, and it drives him crazy what we're doing here. That the excitement and the just the number of people are overwhelmingly trying to go to our convention, and the fact that people want to pay $10,000 to be in a room for an hour while she gives a speech just shows you the excitement and the energy that's going on here in Chicago.
And you mentioned that she officially was nominated in a virtual roll call a couple of weeks ago. That was made necessary in large part because of Ohio's law that required that presidential candidates be certified 90 days before the ballot. That law was changed to take effect on September 1st, so that virtual roll call essentially wasn't needed. But do you think that changed the way that the roll call was done at the convention? Because that's gotten a lot of attention.
Yeah, I mean, we changed it. I mean, it was changed because of Ohio, and because we don't trust the Republican illegal supermajority of legislature and our Republican governor or secretary of state to actually, if they can find a loophole to screw us, they're going to screw us. I mean, and I kept telling people here at the DNC the entire time. I mean, listen, I was worried about it, as were others. We would be here in Chicago this week. They would call a special session in the legislature and rescind at September 1st. And then we would not have a presidential candidate. I don't put it past them because that's the way they think. And these guys, again, they're part of a cult that follows a convicted felon, and they want to get this guy on the ballot and want to keep their power. They'll do anything. And no one would trust any of these people to actually live by their word. So we had a virtual roll call, and the documents were sent to the Ohio Secretary of State by the 4 o'clock deadline of the original date, so they couldn't do any shenanigans to try to somehow keep Kamala Harris off the ballot.
And the roll call that you did at the convention turned out to be more like a musical celebration in a way.
It was a ceremonial musical celebration that took the best of what we'd done before with the roll calls, all the states, and then took some of the stuff we did 4 years ago during COVID with a virtual roll call and put it all into one. And as you saw, I mean, I think the DNC might do this more often because actually people actually like this better than they do the regular roll call. And I've been quoted by you and others when I said that, been to all these conventions, having a 3.5-hour roll call, we have to listen to some small state, say, great state of whatever, who has less people than Franklin County and did all these great things in life, and to sit in a room for 3.5 hours. I mean, it would drive most people insane. And I think the DNC's learned that what we did on Tuesday night is so much better and so much more lively. And I think I think that might be the future now, that happens, because it took exactly 1 hour from the start to finish, and it was choreographed perfectly, and all the music. That I think that every convention from now on might do the same thing.
Ohio did vote for former President Trump in 2016 and 2020. He won by 8 points both times, and political experts are expecting that he will win Ohio again. And what the biggest race, arguably, in Ohio in a way, is the race between incumbent Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown and Trump-endorsed Northeast Ohio businessman Bernie Moreno. Sherrod Brown is not there. He's actually campaigning in Ohio now, starting on Thursday. What's the mood like within the Ohio delegation without him as a marquee candidate there?
Well, so listen, everybody in Ohio, not one of our guest speakers who came in did not mention that Sherrod Brown was the most important Senate race in the country. Everybody, from Cory Booker to Governor Pritzker to Chairman Jamie Harrison to Jim Clyburn, everybody said Sherrod Brown needs to be reelected. Every speaker that we had talked about Sherrod Brown. Sherrod Brown's back in Ohio talking to voters that can actually vote for him. I mean, Sherrod Brown's got every member of my delegation. Sherrod Brown, every member of my delegation, Sherrod Brown. I don't think there's any question. I mean, there is no question that everybody here in Chicago at our breakfasts, at our events, are going to vote for Sherrod Brown. Sherrod needs to be in Ohio convincing those swing voters that we need to win this election, that it's the choice between someone who fights for the little guy, who fights for organized labor, who fights for the rights of everybody to fight for reproductive choice, against a guy who screws his own employees and won't pay them the money they're owed because his profit is more important than taking care of his own employees. And somebody wants to ban abortion on a national level. So that's the kind of difference Sherrod Brown is making by being in Ohio, talking to voters. He was in Shelby County this week. He was in Montgomery County. He was in Lucas County. He was in Cleveland talking to barbers and hairstylists in the city of Cleveland. He's been all across the state this week talking to voters that he needs to have vote for him because we probably have 400 people here from Ohio. I guarantee you all 400 of us are going to vote for Sherrod Brown. We don't need him to be here asking for our vote. He needs to be in Ohio asking for theirs.
And finally, you've been very critical of Frank LaRose as Secretary of State. You've made a lot of comments calling him Mr. Irrelevant and a clown show and some of these things, not just for ballot board stuff, but for other actions. Are you considering running for Secretary of State, or where does this come from?
Oh, I mean, I'm in my staff office right now, and I think everybody in the staff office I think they're holding their laughter back. I mean, I hadn't even, you're the first person ever even mentioned that to me. So I appreciate your confidence. I mean, Frank LaRose isn't even on the ballot next year. So it's not running against Frank LaRose. He's not running for Secretary of State. Thank God. He can't do any more harm. I mean, here's a guy that's already purged 2.1 million voters from our rolls because they know that if everybody votes, we win. So I don't know. I mean, I've already heard that maybe, I know Senator Gaverone's thinking about it. I think that Jay Edwards is thinking about it. I think there's a couple other people that are thinking about running for Secretary of State. That you're the first person to actually ask me that question because I never even given a thought. I mean, trust me, I'm on 4 hours of sleep and I've been here since last Wednesday and I have a lot of crazy thoughts going through my brain because I'm almost delirious, but that has not been one of them so far.